Yes, it's Atlanta Discuss. It's another Friday. Yes, this is part two. The part two of that very, very interesting episode with Jibrin Samuel Okutepa SAN. Yes, we discussed the issue of the river state allocation cases in court. So we might not really go into some nitty gritty, but we're going to interpret the law, what the law says. And of course, we'll discuss every other thing that has to do with the judiciary, the situation in the country. Okutepa SAN, erudite, no holds bear, says it the way it is, a patriot par excellence, like they call him, the legal salamander. Enjoy it. You've seen the first part, like I said. This is the second and final part in the series. Now, to all our viewers in the seven continents, we appreciate you always. We appreciate the subscription. And we like your feedback, especially on email. And I noticed a lot of you like email, atlantadiscuss@gmail.com. Thank you. Thank you for all the feedback. We can only get better. So stay tuned, enjoy the part two, and see you next week Friday. Cheerio. Bye.
I follow you on Twitter, so and there's something you posted sometimes back. Because my next question has to do with the decampment of some PDP members to APC in the same River State. It's a long read, but I want to give my viewers the honor of listening to everything you said. You said, I have always found it extremely nauseating and insulting to my knowledge of law. Why those who desecrated and violated our constitution are always granted remedies in our court. Section 1 of 1999 Constitution says the Constitution is supreme. You said that already. And everything must be done according to the Constitution. The same Constitution says in Section 109(1)(g) that any member of the House of Assembly shall vacate his seat in the House if, being a person whose election to the House of Assembly was sponsored by a political party, he becomes a member of another political party before the expiration of the House was elected, that he was elected. So you further said there's no dispute that in the case of Right Honorable Martin Chike Amawele and 26 other versus INEC and others, in blah, 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 Honorable Amawele deposed to the affidavit in the paragraph and so on and so forth. So based on what you said there, is it just fair to say that the case is also clear that they decamped and the Constitution is clear because they've decamped, they do not hold those seats. I know the case is in court, you don't want to preempt the court also, but talking about constitutional supremacy and what have you, do you think those guys, 26 guys, the wicked boys, do you think they shot themselves in the foot?
Well, let me say that they are not the first human being to have done what they have done, and they are struggling to retain their seats. I know that I was a lawyer to lead up the current Senate president. I went to court. He decamped from PDP to APC while I went to court. It's not the first time. I've always advocated that unless there is a constitutional discipline and we don't water illegality with legality and begin to give those who desecrated our political and constitution favorable audience in our court, the iniquities will continue more. The Constitution is very clear. Once you decamp from the political party that sponsored you and you won election to another political party that it did not sponsor you to the House of Assembly or National Assembly, then the Constitution says you shall vacate your seat. The duty is that you shall vacate. It is the duty imposed on you. And so I have always insisted that until we show respect for our Constitution, our law, and hold public officers accountable, do you know that each and every public officer in Nigeria takes oath of office and oath of allegiance to protect and defend Nigerian Constitution? Why should we therefore not hold them accountable to that oath? They should not begin to take Shango, Ogun, and Amadioha, because we hold Bible or Quran in our hands and do the same thing that we swore not to do, and we are protected under legality. So if you check, there is a case of Honorable Abegunde in Ogun State. He lost his seat. Honorable Dapilion in Plateau State, they lost their seats. The case, when having lost their seat, they were trying to impeach the governor or remove the governor. They went to court. The Supreme Court was clear that the moment you decamp to another political party, you lose your seat. So my tweet, which you have read, was based on the certified true copy of the affidavit deposed before a court of law.
Yeah, no, that's why I read it.
and under section 112, subsection M of the Constitution of the of the Evidence Act, Nigeria judiciary ought to take notice of processes filed in court. It's a notorious fact. So, and the question whether they decamp or not decamp is all over internet. It was televised. You saw it. I saw it. And they were welcome and hailed as good, faithful servants. So when it comes to now eating the bitter pill of that decision, then they must be held onto it. It's not only Rivers. I have been consistent on the matter. I went to court for people who have been exhibiting their knowledge of ignorance of my person. Some went to my Twitter and they were saying all manner of things. I don't care about it. The truth remains that if we must be ruled by decent men and women, then we must hold them accountable to what the oath they took. That's my position. And having taken oath to defend and protect Nigerian Constitution, no judicial arm of no person in the judiciary should give judicial legitimacy to an otherwise illegitimate conduct of anybody. And that's my position. Let the judiciary not legitimize an otherwise illegitimate process. Once the judiciary has been given the knife, the gun, the hammer, the bullet, begins to fire from all cylinders and begin to hold political class accountable, my dear brother, Nigeria will become a good society. Take, for instance, under President Olusegun Obasanjo, impeachment of governors were being done from brothel. It took the boldness of the Supreme Court to say no. If you want to take advantage of the ouster clause in section 180, subsection 10 of the Constitution, then you must show that you have followed religiously the procedure set out in subsection 1 to 9. And the Supreme Court intervened in Ladoja's case. Heaven didn't fall, and it will not fall because God is the master architect of the entire universe. So the judiciary, like I said from the beginning, is the strongest arm of government. We are the one that the judiciary is the one that have been vested with humongous amount of power under section 6, subsection 6 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to decide disputes between government and individuals. And so the judiciary must not only back, it must bite. And in the biting, must be rooted in sound jurisprudential decision that lay solid foundation for rule of law, democratic sustainability, and growth, not decisions that lay foundation for the collapse of the fragile foundation of Nigerian democracy.
Interesting. You've spoken like a true patriot, and we respect that. Now, in the past, our elections used to be free, but not fair. Now they are not free, they are not fair, and even in judgment based on the last presidential election, it was just technicalities galore. And I know you were part of the obese team. I followed all the court proceedings to the best of my ability. And I listened to most of the things all the lawyers said and all that. So I'm asking now, do you think with benefit of hindsight, those of you that were in the presidential election tribunal, there was anything you could have done better? I'm not trying to absolve the judiciary. The case was clear to everybody, but do you think as lawyers, there was something you could have done differently, strategically, legally?
There is nothing anybody can do better if those who decide says you have not done better. So my answer is this. I have been on the side of the so-called losers of election at least since the advent of the democracy in Nigeria, from 0 party to the whatever number of parties till today, I've always stood for the winner, the losers of election, except on few occasions. And let me tell you, there has never been any election in Nigeria that has been free, fair, and credible. And there are 3 attributes of election. It must be fair, free, and credible. Every foundation for Nigerian elections has been laid in incredibility. It has not been free, it has not been fair, people have been interfering, and the results are being written. So, and like I said, and quoting again this erudite jurist of repute, late Justice Nkitobi, he said politicians, the attributes of politicians is partiality. The attribute of a judicial officer is impartiality. And that is why, because of the impartiality as attributes of judicial officers, the Constitution vests in them the specialities of being adjudication or adjudicator over disputes involving those who are engaging in impartiality as their trademark. But what you have, so many roadblocks have been laid to attainment of electoral justice in Nigeria, one of which was solidified, codified, and built with concrete slab in the presidential election. It is that if you are calling a witness on subpoena, you must front load the witness statement of a subpoena witness. For me, it is not only impossible, to use the word of Professor, can't remember his name, it is impossible. It is impossible and cannot. Because how do you expect me to say I have to subpoena Ade, who is my opponent, to come and give me a statement that Ade rigged election, and then file that statement with their petition within 21 days? That judgment has finally, in my humble view, put an end to democracy in Nigeria. Because all that any politician need to do now is to write results. And if you are unable to get a subpoena to front load, even if you front loaded this evidence after you have filed a petition, you are prevented from using it. It happened in Kogi. We produce evidence that each of the polling units, the Beavers machine showed overvoting each of the polling units, and the consequences should have been nullification of those polling units and give the decision, the election to the right person. What was the decision of our courts? That the witness that came on the order of court, that demonstrated the Beavers machine, that opened it and everybody saw the overvoting, even the blind can see it. The court said, no, we can't look at it because you did not have a front-loaded witness statement or no. And that was confirmed by Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. Oh, wow. Following Atiku Abubakar vs. INEC and P2B vs. INEC, I have consistently called on the Supreme Court to reverse themselves. It is better to admit error than to persist in it. It is the great Okuta that said the Supreme Court is not there, it's not infallible. They are infallible just because they are final. And that it amount to short-sightedness, arrogance, not to admit of an error. So for me, my plea is that for Nigeria to be in place and for us to continue to practice democracy, the judiciary must lean on the side of the people. When judgments are now on the side of the oppressor of the oppressed will one day wake up and be attacking both the oppressor and the oppressee. I don't know whether there's anything like that. So,
there is oppressor and oppressed.
So all I am saying is that goat hardly bites, but when pushed to the wall, it can bite. Nigerians are watching, and I have consistently said that it will be wrong for us to claim that Our judiciary cannot take judicial notice of the rascalities that is going on in our election and give justice in judgment, because majority of the judgments we have in our court today, with profound respect, are just judgment devoid of justice. When justice is done, you will yourself know that justice has been done. What is the justice of a matter when you see, and it's before you, openly rigging, beavers machine have been produced, you have seen it, and you are saying, no, I will not look at it. Let the person in whose favor this rigging took place declare the authentic representative of the people. No, that's not what we were created to do. We're not created to build injustice upon injustice in judgment. No, the judiciary was created to give undiluted and purified justice that meets the yearning and aspiration of the people. So my submission, therefore, on this point, the question you have asked, is that if the judiciary wanted to do what we have asked them to do, there were sufficient material they could have done it. But it appears to me that there's an unwritten code. When the presidential election in Kenya was nullified, how many witnesses was called?
I can't remember.
There were no.
None.
They just look at the affidavit. They just look at the failure to follow.
The judgment was given within a week, so I think
their law said 14 days.
14
so
days.
There was no forest of witnesses. You bring a witness, you bring a paper. They say you must call a witness to speak to the paper, to speak to documents. And meanwhile, there are judicial decisions that documents speak for itself. You cannot add, you cannot subtract. So one is confused as to why, when it comes to our electoral jurisprudence, the principles of law change under the theory of what they call sui generis. Sui generis should not be used as a weapon to perpetuate injustice. It should be used to dethrone those who perpetuate evil to come to power. That's what sui generis, in my estimation, should have been used for. Because a man who steals the meal of the entire community in order to survive should get himself removed and let the community survive on their meal.
Interesting. I mean, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do. I can assure you here, we are doing our best to make sure that, the truth is spoken to power. Let me ask you a direct and personal question. I've spoken to a lot of people, especially legal luminaries, and especially people that supported Peter Obi. Akin Oshitoku, I'm sure you know him, was one of the campaign DGs, Oseloka Obaze, so many of them, Wakobia, Kenetoko, everybody said they believe that their party won the election. I don't know who you supported, but I mean, I can guess. But let me ask you, who do you think won that last election? Do you think Peter Obi won the election? It's a personal thing. They are not jumping the court now. They are not prejudicing. The judgment has been given, and the rest is history. What do you think? We all know the election was not fair and fair, irrespective of.
I will not answer the question because, in my estimation, I thought my client won.
Okay.
And that's why I acted for him.
But you have answered.
But we were told in the court that he did not win. So the duty I owe as a legal practitioner, therefore, is to say that the person the court said won the election. And that's why he's my president, and I have to respect it. But that is to answer you as a lawyer. I'm not a politician, unfortunately.
I know.
I don't belong to any of the political parties. But we need to be very careful. And I say this because if we introduce innovation like beavers machine, the judiciary must not begin to bring in conditions for the workability of that beavers machine. For instance, the election in Kenya was nullified because the result was not uploaded on the similar of IRF in real time. In our case here, we're able to produce some 18,000 plus of results, supposed results uploaded on IRF that were unreadable. Some were pictures, some were things that completely, I thought that the basis for introduction of IRF was that what is to be transmitted in hard copy carry the same figure with what is on IRF. But Ade Balogun, my brother, let me be honest with you today, that even the result being uploaded on IRF now are doctored results.
Oh, wow.
With the benefit of being a legal practitioner. So the best way we should be able to get what is authentic is to open up the Beavers machine, because Beavers machine is an electronic device. So the moment you put your finger, the figures of accreditation are stored therein. But when you pick the Beavers machine, who is to operate it? It is INEC. It is passworded. It is passcoded. No politician is expected to have access to the passcode. And that is where it becomes very important of the character you have in INEC. Do we have people in INEC that want democracy to survive? Or we have people in INEC that want the destruction of democracy on the basis of commercial interests? So Nigeria is a bundle of problems that needs to be solved. And I think that if INEC and the judiciary work very well in line with the law and hold political class accountable, democracy will be the best form of government we can have in Nigeria.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I want to ask you about constitutional amendments, minorities and all that. But before I go on to that, just a quick follow-up. Part of the 2023 election court cases were on certificate forgery and all that, and there's precedent in law. I read that some guy that, even this last election, some guy that produced a fake document, the court removed him, and so on and so forth. Now, it's not even what you think I'm asking, but what I'm going to ask is, going into 2027, for example, because I know part of the court decision was that those that went to court, that some of those cases were pre-election and all that they were not party to the case and all that. So we had technicalities galore, unsubstantiated, and all that. Now, going into 2027, the facts are in public, you understand. We know when our president was governor of Lagos State, AD, he said he went to send something for primary school. We know that school doesn't exist. That's a statement of fact. I'm not that saying it. Said he went to GCI Ibadan. He did not attend that school. I went to Abeka Grammar School. My admission number is 10,080. So any old school, a Dokolo Grammar School, CKC, you don't go to those schools without having admission number. That's a fact. Now, possibly he went to Chicago State University. That's hard to verify also. But the Nigerian Constitution says that minimum requirement for public office is school cert, which you also know, Now, going to 2027, now that everybody is wiser and all that, how is it possible for the president of Nigeria to navigate all that? Considering everybody now, okay, it's pre-election, okay, we'll fight it before then. We know the judiciary, but how do you navigate that? That's one. The second one, so that you can answer it together. Nigeria is not doing too well under President Bola Tinubu. There's no doubt about it. Do you think it's suffering from a moral, is there a moral burden, considering how he became president, the certificate forgery, drug-related issue, and the way the election was managed? This, of course, are your personal opinion. I mean, there's nothing in court with this. So go ahead, sir.
Unfortunately, the two questions I'm most unqualified to answer. One, the president has not told me, has not briefed me or briefed anybody that he wants to contest.
Okay,
so
I like that.
It's speculative.
Okay.
When we get to the bridge, the lawyers who want to be will cross it. Okay. So I don't want to offer my legal opinion free of charge. Okay. Second one is, I'm not in the cabinet and I'm not the president. So I do not know whether he's offering any burden or his lack of focus or is not being properly assisted. Because my view is that a tree does not make a forest.
Absolutely.
So if you have Nigerians that love Nigeria at heart, assisting you and telling you the bitter truth, you are likely to do well. But I come to realize, my brother, that, and it's not only President Ahmed Bola Tinubu alone, I've come to realize that 99.5% of public officers in Nigeria love psychophancy. They love praise singing. They love being told that they are doing well, even when they are colossal failure. So that is the problem we have. So until we are in a position to have leaders who want to hear the truth and not leaders who want to be told lies colored in the gap of truth, there is no leader in Nigeria that will do well. For instance, the police institution are supposed to be representative of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Were they supposed to have packed people that look like malnourished, put in prison for 3 months under the concept of so-called treasonable felony and carrying flag of another country? My submission, therefore, is that the president needs to be assisted to succeed. But there are some principles, the policies, some actions that are painting him in bad light. So even if he meant well, he cannot be everywhere. And I'm not in a position whether I even mean well, because I have not had the opportunity of close interaction with him. I have not met him in person before. I only have been hearing about his name. So when in Lagos, they were talking about Lagos did that in terms of even the litigation in court. Remember, he asked Professor Yemi Osinbajo as Attorney General of Lagos State. In law, we have a principle that we say, Nemo Dako no habet.
You can't give what you don't have.
You can't give what you do not have. So if you put a man who is not a medical doctor in charge of theater for operation, likely possibility is that there will be a fatality in that theater.
Oh God.
Or if you put a man or a woman in charge of who is an agent of Satan to lead in the kingdom of God, possibility is that he will not do what is expected in the kingdom of God. So you should be a judge yourself. How many of the people that are independent minded, apart from few, are surrounding the president and telling president that, look, president, this thing cannot be like this. This road, these projects, these contracts, we must really look at it. Is it worth 1 trillion or is just 1 billion? Where does the extra money go to? Why is the bag of rice this so much? What is happening to the money given to the security agencies to root away the bandits in the bush? Who is profiting from it? Who is policing the police? The president needs to have a policeman that police the police. And when I use the police world, I'm not meaning the Nigerian police, who is policing even the ministers, and who is policing the other agencies that should create a conducive atmosphere for the smooth operation of Nigerian government. How many people are patriotic and nationalistic enough that have the interest of Nigeria at heart? These are the questions we should begin to ask. And is the president even ready to work with persons he does not know? And are the person the president does not know, don't know, ready to lead Mr. President right and not look at whatever they perceive to be his weak points? In the beginning, I say something, and let me say it, I'm sure this may be the concluding part. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has nothing to lose if he decides to do what is right. That will make Nigerians, whatever they perceive as whatever they think he is done wrong, he will get immediate forgiveness. If, for instance, we wake up today, the road from here to Kaduna is tarred. The road from here to Benin is dual carriageway. There are buses in town. The railways are functional. Nobody is driving. If I want to go to Ajebule from here, I have underground train. I have everything. I don't spend my money to buy fuel. The security situation is dealt with. He becomes a hero. And so my advice to Mr. President, therefore, is to begin to think of doing what is right and give life, meaningful life to Nigeria, and not to perpetuate people who do not mean well for this country on the people in the name of appointment.
Fantastic. I know we've taken a lot of your time, but two quick questions before we go. Those young people that were brought to court recently, the PRO of the police said something that if you are 7 years old, you can be charged to court and sentenced to jail and so on. There are a lot of issues around that. Now, they are being charged for raising a foreign flag and all that. It drew a lot of sentiment. People I've seen it in BBC, AP. It's gone global. It doesn't even look well for the president. It doesn't look well for the country. It makes us look like a banana republic and all that. What should have been the right approach to those kind of scenarios?
Well, the right approach is known. The only way the Attorney General of the Federation knows. The Attorney General of the Federation is the senior advocate, my elder brother, senior advocate, whom I respect. He has issued a statement. For me, I don't want to join issue with the police because an average policeman is a policeman. So I don't want to bother myself with it. But to say that those children you saw, I saw, are married men and married people with the children, to come out of the mouth of a lawyer is an unfortunate situation. That in a country where the professional ethics of the profession is held in high esteem, it should by Monday have his days with the disciplinary process of the profession. Because when I was privileged to prosecute for the bar, I read of a case of a lawyer in England who did not use the right route in the railway, boarding the train. He was monitored for 6 months and was brought before the solicitor, disciplinary proceeding of solicitors of disciplinary something of England and Wales, and dealt with and debarred because his conduct was unbecoming of the legal practitioner. For me, those who arraign those children, when you look at the charge sheet, I've never seen when you put a day in bracket male 38. I've never seen such things in the name of a person. J.S. Okutepa in the bracket male 45. Adeboro 50. I mean, the front page of the charge told a lie of itself, which is not what's supposed to be. For me, there is juveniles. Those children are juveniles, and they are not supposed to be brought to a regular court. They should have been taken. In fact, under our law, they are not supposed to even be paraded in the manner we are doing. They are supposed to be put in a way that they are not hardened. Tell me whether those children coming out tomorrow will respect Nigeria. Because a lot have been said that the leaders in the North have encouraged it. And that's the subject of another day. And I agree that if we took the interest of these children very well into account, they shouldn't be on the street to be available to be used. Some people had already been circulating that when they talk about this end bad governance, they went to library in Kano and they were not picking any book. They were not interested in book because they cannot even read it. Somebody told me that the best way to preserve your money in Nigeria is to put your money in the book. No Nigerian will open it because nobody wants to read. So for me, whatever we saw on the television yesterday is a failure of leadership, failure of parenthood, failure of Nigerian government. It's a collective failure. And let me be honest with you, it did not start with President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Because I was watching the documentary. Do you know, Ade, that the rottenness in our system started from the very time we began to think about becoming independent ourselves? It is from small stealing. It graduated from petty thieves to stealing to armed robbery. Now it has come aggravated, open, I don't know what other name. It's an aggravated stealing now, and it is public. Nobody, if you ask anybody, why do you want to go to government? His first answer is to make money. So nobody wants to go to government to render service to the public. It's to make money. And so where has been the money budgeted for Alimajiri schools by President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan? What have the northern governors been doing with the allocation? They are all, virtually all of them are contended with like Adede. They are coming home and then they are giving handout to us like they are doing now for rice and beans. So it is a very complex situation, and it will require a drastic approach. And that drastic approach has to be undertaken by a leader who has the love of Nigeria at heart, who is not thinking about the next election. A leader who want to have legacy. A leader who is not thinking about how to retain power by all means, but a leader who is being brought to power by all means by the people he has favored in governance. There is a distinction between Nigerian leadership and the leadership of that country. People work for leaders to come to power. In Nigeria, people work to remain in power against the will of the people.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, I agree with everything you said. But another thing I quickly want to check with you is this. Why is it so hard for the NBA, Nigeria Bar Association, to discipline lawyers? Why is it so hard? You know, errand lawyers, why is it so hard? I asked somebody I have a lot of respect for, and his response is just a fantastic person like you, true to power. I said, look, of all the NBA chapters, just Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt that have some semblance of financial independence, that can host NBA conferences and all that. So NBA,
even that one we don't have. The truth of the matter is that NBA as a professional association is incapacitated in so many ways. First, until Ganifa Emi went to court against Jibrin William and the rest, nobody knew that the NBA was not a juristic person. NBA is just a voluntary association. So the disciplinary power of the legal profession is not in NBA, it's in the body of benchers.
Oh, okay.
And the body of benchers is populated majorly by judges, attorneys generals, and what have you.
Political people.
So and then second point I need to say is until we make a distinction between politics and professional issues, we are not going anywhere. For instance, where you are, the lawyer of President Trump had faced some sanctions for processes.
This bad.
Good. For processes he filed. How many lawyers in Nigeria have faced disciplinary panel for wrong processes filed? So it appears, I don't know why we find ourselves like this. We are not prepared to visit sanctions on those who ought to be disciplined. If we start making example, things will work well. But the example we are prepared to make are example of trying to shut people like us up, not to talk. Unfortunately, that cannot be a good example. We must make example of people who are making us to talk. Because if there is no particle, if a drop of particle in ordinary water in the bottle will not grow sour. So we are not mad people. People who are speaking, they want to shut you up. They issue you some form of subtle threats, not to say, but Otman Danfodio was clear. Say conscience is an open wound. Only truth can heal it. Until we are ready to embark on the truth and let down the consequences, nothing will work. And let me also say this, that in applying disciplinary processes in our profession, you must not apply it whimsically, simply because you hate the person. You must follow due process and rule of law. And the rule of law are very clear how to follow it. So NBA, without attempting to defending it, is not the one that admits lawyer to bar.
True.
And you cannot take away from a man what you did not give to the man. The body that admits lawyer to the bar is the honorable body of benchers. And is the honorable body of benchers also control the legal practitioner disciplinary committee of the body of benchers. And the people who are sitting in that committee are not full-time staff. They are members of the body who come to make sacrifices. And so, if we are serious about disciplinary process, we must establish an outstanding, a standing body of benchers disciplinary committee that has full-time judges, full-time lawyers that are not subject to the control of even the body itself. That's my answer to that. So NBA appears to be incapacitated.
I like that. So last question, I know you have to go now. Speaking on the Constitution now, you're a middle belter, you're from Benue, middle belt.
No, I'm not from Benue, I'm from Kogi.
Oh, sorry, Kogi. I'm sorry, I know that.
But I'm a Nigerian.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I know. So I'm talking about constitutional amendment now. So I'm sorry about that. I know you're from Kogi. So do you think we need a new constitution, or we just need the right leadership? Because
we don't need, there is nothing wrong with our constitution.
Brilliant.
Everything is wrong with the operators of our constitution. And indeed, I see the constitutional amendment as a jamboree. How many amendments have we embarked upon? And then how many amendments have been done to the Constitution that are really targeted at bettering the lives of Nigerians? The majority of amendments done to the Constitution, perhaps the only constitutional amendment that I think was necessary, which they did after the Supreme Court struck down Executive Order number 10, introduced by Buhari, was the question of independence of the judiciary. So Act number 8 of 2023, that's the best piece of legislation. But as it is today, are the political class ready to implement it? See, give the American Constitution to Nigerian leaders, they will operate it badly. Because until we choose to bury self and focus on Nigerian development and good governance, not rooted in selfish motive by political class, no matter how you write the Constitution, it will not work. If you like, go to regional something. What do you call it now? Regionalism. You say Southwest region, Middle Belt region, Northwest region, Southeast region, South-South region. Within the South-South region and Southeast region, you will see original Igbo and Yoruba. You know now that in the Southeast, there is this challenge that people from Ebonyi State are looked upon as not original something. Where did we get all of this nonsense from? So if you give the Igala people of Kogi a state today, there will be a fight between the Ida people, the Yankpa, the Kina, and all of that, and Ibaji. See, like in the beginning of this program, I've told you, we specialize in minority measurements rather than the major thing that worries Nigeria. Where is it written in the current constitution that there should be no internal democracy in the political party? Rather, the 2022 Electoral Act, this 2022 Electoral Act that you are seeing, you are not looking up. Look at it. This 2022 Electoral Act that you are seeing says nobody should be recognized to contest election if he doesn't participate in primary. Your guess is as good, section 29 of that law. Your guess is as good as mine. So, so it's there. It's there in that something.
Yeah, I've read it. I've read it, and I know the two senators that come to mind on that.
So, apart from them, there are others who didn't. Look, my dear brother, from my practical experience, INEC staff can write a report on monitoring of political party to whoever has the means of production. What sort of country is that? So until we have people who are focused on doing the right thing, you are wasting time to say you are amending the Constitution. We must amend our attitude, amend our thoughts, amend our orientation, amend the way we look at ourselves, bury the tribalism and religious sentiment in us, amend that and say each and every one of us, either of a Hausa island, Igbira island, Yoruba island, have one color of blood in our vein, created by God to be a beneficiary to mankind. And until we start that, nothing will work.
So thank you, Jibrin Samuel Okutepa SAN, erudite scholar, legal luminary. You've done justice. You lived up to the billing. One more thing. Do you have a message of hope for Nigerians? A lot of people, even in the diaspora, people have really given up. Things are really, really bad. Do you have a message of hope? No, I know you have a lot of hope. I don't know.
My message to all of us, let us not lose hope. There is nothing that we are seeing that is new. At least we are aware of a place called Sodom and Gomorrah. Bad people were there. If you look at even the scripture and the Quran, we have men and women created of God have always been having this. But one day, God will give us a leader, and that leader can come by any means. Once the leader decides to change and say enough is enough, enough is enough, Nigerian resources must be used to develop Nigeria, and Nigeria must become a tourist destination, and we should no longer go for medical tourism. Nigeria can manufacture aeroplane, Nigeria can manufacture car. A leader that will gather not many sycophants around him. That is the leader who are hoping and will keep talking. Let us not stop talking. Even if at the detriment of our liberty, let us continue to talk. After all, it took only Prophet Elijah to deal with the prophet of Baal, and God was with him. So let those of us who mean well for Nigeria continue to talk and encourage others to talk. We must continue to talk, and our leader must listen to us. None of them is more patriotic than us.
Thank you, Mr. Okutepa. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to Atlanta Discuss. I'm sure it's your first time. It's not going to be your last time. There's so many legal issues now. Thank you for giving us the time. I know you're a very, very, very busy man. I know. So thank you once again. To our viewers all over the world, it's a wrap. There's a lot to learn. You don't give up, no matter how forlorn it might be. You just have to keep trying. Something will give eventually. I even think something is on the verge of giving. I don't know what it is. I don't know when it is, but I know nothing lasts forever. Take care. See you next week. Bye, everybody.